you know.
So the first and the obvious question, how was working with the horses?
It was just wonderful. We had, of course, all the time the owner of each horse with us, and as you saw in the text in the end, all the actors in the film are trained and experienced horse riders, so it was just big fun and really lovely work. And, yeah, this work, just as I hope you see in the film, is the whole film is just admiration of this beautiful animal. We love this animal. Our horses. Well, my horses are going old like myself, but I love them still.
The director in once introduced that it's easy to manipulate with horses, because when you need to make a good shot, you need one horse in front of the camera and the other one behind the camera. So because they always relate to another horse strongly.
Well, it might be. It has been like that. No. When I was working with those two horses, or the 7 horses, that was the most delicate scene in the film. That when we were riding with using just ropes instead of real bridles on those 7 horses, and I mixed up, blind, and they did. One of the horses got a rope in his mouth, and he started to jump, and that was a little bit difficult scene to take that. And we had to retake it because we lost control of the whole group, and it was jumping all over me. But basically this was very, very joyful and lovely work.
Right, for the horses there is a lot of alcohol, and there is all that classical drama need, all the elements, love, sex, killing, dying.
Yeah, it's the sarcastic, ironic humor of Benedikt Erlingsson is very, very clear there. He loved the human being as well as horses, but with a glint in his eye, as always in his work. And it's amazing. We are very patriotic and very pompous Icelanders, and it's a little bit of that stubbornness in every character, except there's 2 foreigners. They are the only smart people in the film, the young people. The Swedish girl and the Spanish boy.
Some of the stories are so bizarre that it's necessary to ask ourselves, are they true? The one with the vodka, the guy who stole.
Absolutely true, that story. and it was a sheriff in Iceland who felt such a shame when I was standing to jump on his mare when he was on the horse, and that he went home and killed his favorite horse like that. There's a story about the man who go inside the animal. That's just an old folklore, which he just did put it in a modern time. We would never. Me and my wife, we did that as a spare job in a holiday from the theater in the summer to go on set a horse trip in the Highland, and then we knew never ever a guide. We left one person behind. That's so crazy in the story, but well, it has to make the dramatic out of it.
Well, that's amazing. Yeah, just because it has all the elements as a classical drama, but in a very light, smooth way. Actually, very nice way.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, all the cruelty or towards the horses or between people, it has something positive and light all over it.
Yeah, there's something very warm in the sarcastic humor of Mr. Erlingsson, which I like very much. In his plays, which he has been writing for the theater, you have always this kind of sarcastic humor in his work. We might be sometimes a Jekyll that doesn't take the human being too seriously, like Anton Jekyll.
I mam to kakšno vprašanje. Any questions, remarks? Yes.
Why it is so wrong for the 2 horses to be together at the beginning?
Why? I didn't hear.
You know, in the beginning, when the white and black horse came together, have sex, and the owner killed his own horse.
Why did he?
Yes. Yeah. Why?
He take it as such a humiliation. He take it personally, like he had been raped himself. That's the only explanation. All the countryside having to look at the scene, and that was too much for his pride. That is end of story.
But this is the logic of the village people, no?
The logic of a village people. It's a little bit the logic of the culture in that society, in that little valley. This valley is just half an hour from the little town where we are running our museum, the waiting museum. So we know these people, all these farms very well.
Yeah, but
and the people who really don't like this film, just tell you, that is farmers. They don't like it. They say this is humiliation for us. You thought you were admiring the horse, but you were just humiliating the human being. I don't like that. Too vulgar sex and things like that.
No, when you live in a small community, and the humiliation is more stronger. Huh?
I agree with that is the motivation for this. This is really the story who started the whole project. Benedikt was working in a theatre project in our theatre when it was really a success. It was going on for 3 years in our theatre, in our museum theatre. And then he was really working on this idea. And he started with this story about the sheriff who got raped of a stallion.
I understood the scene. The man was a loner, and he probably looked at the mare as to his woman, kind of. No?
She did humiliate him with just to do her own thing at that time, in front of the whole society. Yeah.
And another question. What was with this tribe of the horses at the end? Were they wild horses?
Well, it is very nice. We ride our horses very differently than here in Europe. They go wild in herd the first 4 years of their life, and that's make the horse with its own will, and it's with courage, and it's make the horse a horse. A horse which is just raised up in a stable thing, and always with human being. That horse just think that it is a man, human being. It has to be living in the herd. They living in the herd, and so they keep some of the wild element in themselves all their life. They go wild up in the highland, but in the autumn we collect them to put them on.
I didn't understand. Do they have owners? Those?
Yeah, all horses in Iceland have owners.
They are not wild horses.
No, they are not wild. They are like that. Each horse owner in Iceland is really proud of his horse, of his herd of horse. He is riding at the same time, having some mares who get foals and raising new horses, new generation of horses, and training horses. We sometimes say that it's really the most interesting, and that's to train a horse and let that horse to learn to be your friend at the same time, because that's how we train horses nowadays. In the old days, the horses were breaking under the will of the human being, but now we have learned gradually to make them willing to do the things for us. That's more fun.
It's here in Slovenia the same. I also have a horse, and I know it's more soft. Work with the horse is more soft.
It's more negotiation with the horse than to break it. Yeah. the word to break a horse is an ugly word.
Hello. Can you tell us the most typical characters about Icelandic horses and most typical character about Icelandic people?
What is it typical for us as a nation?
Yes, and for horses.
What is the typical for horses, to be talking about that first, it is, and what we are most proud of is that the Icelandic horse has a very special gait, which is, I don't know any horse with that gait, which is called tuft, which is very, very soft gait. You're seeing him, he was showing it in the beginning. He was first doing tuft, and then he went on past gait. That is the very special character of the Icelandic horse, with the people of Iceland, well, looking at this film, stubbornness and ignorance. No, and it's difficult to say something about, well, it is at least, well, it's very sure that we are very, very proud of the old root in our culture. We are speaking still the language the whole Scandinavia was speaking for 1,000 years ago, and we can read old sagas like our newspapers. And the Icelandic language is a little bit like the Latin to the Roman languages. If there would be some little folk nation which was still speaking Latin, it's a little bit similar. Icelandic is the back language for all the Scandinavian languages.
But you have also an interesting story about family names in Iceland.
Yeah, we don't have family names. My name is Kjartanom Ragnarssonon, because my father's name was Ragnar, so I'm the son of Ragnar.
And your son?
And my wife, sitting there, her name is Sigríður Guðmunds daughter. It's sometimes a little bit embarrassing when we are checking into a hotel. Aha, okay, yes. Two different family names. Okay, yeah, we understand. We completely understand. But this is the truth. We have not been. 4,000 years ago, the whole of Scandinavia didn't have family names. They had the same tradition in the old days. Maybe the most characteristic of Icelanders, they are so backwards that they don't develop like other people, like other Scandinavians.
This is what I like about Icelandic, the fantastic humor, very specific. It goes also like into the black humor. Like I didn't find the border between black humor and normal. It's very open.
Well, I think that's true. We are quite stuck to this black sarcastic humor. Yeah. Icelanders, of course, have been living in a very, very hard nature. It was first in the 20th century that we started to live comfortable life. It was just a big misunderstanding to be alive through the centuries. It was really hard to live in Iceland, and that has maybe a little bit shaped the character of the people of the country. Okay.
How many horses live in Iceland?
Far too many. They are about 180,000. And we should have cut them down at least half, but every horse owner is proud of his stocks. So we keep it's very difficult to keep down the population of horses in Iceland. If you come to Iceland nowadays, the horses all over. You don't see cows anymore. They're all in-house the whole year. Terrible.
Apart from that, you did a lot of different things. You were an actor, you were a director, you were a drama writer. Now you run a museum.
Yeah, it was through this experience as a guide in this horse trip. I learned how the people who came to Iceland thought that the beginning of our culture, we know the name of the first Vikings, the family name, we know how they did settle down the settlement period. We have it all in old scriptures written down, how they did choose a land and how they did grow the land. And people said, this is so interesting. You don't have any museum about this story. No, sorry. So we sit down at the kitchen table. I have been working 30 years as a director and playwright in theater, and say, well, I'm starting to be an old guy. Maybe I should leave the theater before they ask me to go. So over the kitchen table, we just had suddenly decided, why don't we do it? Make exhibition which tell this unique story and how the old saga Viking literature is linked to this settlement period story. And that we did. And we made a little theater there, and Benedikt Erlingsson, the director of this film, he made a monologue, one evening theater show, which became an enormous success. And yeah, so now we are running this museum and restaurant and things. But I'm still taking in one production in theater. And of course, if Benny will offer me another role in a film, and I'm there.
It was great at the beginning when we were talking in the cafe. Said, because I asked you, I said you're acting, you're writing, you're running the museum, and then you said, yeah, of course. There's so few of us. We have to do many things in Iceland. So you're very handy and practical, all of you.
Or very amateuric. Not really professional in anything now. I'm teasing. Yeah, no. Well, I did start in I'm a 68 generation, we these hippies, we are so sure about ourselves that we start to write our own music, and then I started to write my own plays, and it became like a tradition. I never asked in Iceland to do a play of another author. Have you managed is also always the question. I have to ask them if I'm allowed to do Chekhov or Shakespeare or something. And I asked them. I had to do a lot of other things and my own stuff. Yeah.
And questions, remarks, wishes? I'll ask you something. We all probably admire Iceland because of the protesting of all the protests that you start with in Iceland. We were looking up to you. So how is the situation nowadays? Are you protesting against anything, or you just stop?
Yes.
And give up?
Fortunately, we have to be protesting now because our government now is really cutting everything down in the healthcare system, in the education system, to art, to film. Benny was getting the Scandinavian Film Prize just for 1 month ago, and he made a speech there. And there was the Minister of Culture, and Benny said to will you please, if there is a little meeting and chat after this ceremony, and we have a little glass of wine, will you gently go to the Minister of Culture here and tell him that culture is something necessary, and talk him into learn what it means for people to have culture. Yes, there. That was great. Oh, yeah, we are. It's so bad that all doctors are on strikes in the hospitals now in Iceland. It's a serious time. We have not really recovered. Well, our economy is on the way up after this big crash, as you have maybe you're talking about, which we had in 2008, and but the people has not recovered, and the politicians, they really don't understand what to do to have balance in the society. It's a lot of strikes. In the main square of Iceland, about 4,000 people came every Monday now. So that's how the situation is. We were not people who were easy to get to strike and demonstrate. But it has changed a lot after this big crash. 2008.
Thank you. Hopefully we'll follow you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.